Hey guys, I thought tonight I would try something a little different, and I am trying to sleep, which this is abnormally early for me to go to bed, but I just had a few thoughts. I was scrolling through my notes of video ideas that I have, and I really wasn't planning on filming anything, but I said to myself, why not? And I saw a note that read, um, I don't stand up for myself. And I remember the time I wrote that, and that my mentality was just so different. And this was only a few months ago. I remember that it was around the time I filmed that one video where I was like, I believe it was the one entitled The Ways That My Loved Ones Take Me for Granted or some crap like that. And during that time, I just felt really out of it. Like I just didn't have any self-respect. And, and to this day, a few months later, I still feel like I don't. But at least I can say that I have come a long way. But I'm here doing a dark street. Yeah, because, like I said, or maybe you tuned in after my intro, but I'm trying to go to sleep abnormally early, but I'm not really successful at it. And I always wanted to do a video where I just voice over but don't really have an image, so a stream makes it really easy for me to do this, whereas if I was doing this in a video form, I would need to like pick a black background or something, black picture, and then insert it to the storyboard. Anyway, whatever you call it. So, but anyways, back on track. And today I had an episode with someone who just annoys the crap out of me at my job because of the ignorant stuff that she says, just to sum it all up. But I normally would be frustrated by such remarks, but today I just completely dismissed it and ignored it. Hello, I don't think I recognize you, but welcome. And but it's a person who, since day one that I've been working, um, I haven't been really tight with this person anyway. But I just remember a time when if she would have told me the bullshit she told me today, say some 6 months ago to a few years ago, I would have been so annoyed and irritated or just feel really down about it. But today, instead, I just listened to it, recognized it as a piece of ignorance, and just ignored it. Whereas, like I said, this stuff would make me feel down and whatnot. But I just feel glad that when someone says or does something messed up to me nowadays, it's either I can ignore it and truly, and I mean truly, let go of it, or I immediately stand up for myself. And I do so in a kind, gentle fashion. It doesn't have to be conflictive or anything. It's just that I find myself being firm with what I say as opposed to feeling insecure about speaking up and being like, no, you are wrong and this is why. Or, okay, maybe your point is right, but this is also why my point is right. Whereas I used to be, in the name of peace, I would avoid conflict, even if it meant being abused of. And I have reached a point in my life where I'm genuinely tired of that. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I recognize that I struggle with that and that I'm no longer tolerating that, and at least I have examples now of how I have been able to execute that, like, all right, I had this moment, this situation happened to me, and this is how I handled it. How I would have handled it, let's say a year ago, versus how I handle it now. And it is very important that you just stand up for yourself. It doesn't matter who it is or what the situation is. Um, this is probably old news for everybody. I'm probably behind at this, but I'm serious. I used to tolerate so much bullshit, and I've decided that that's over. And it's great that the quality of my life has improved so vastly. So that's why I'm here now, saying this, rambling about this. I'm kind of having a rough night because I'm having some minor, really difficulties in my personal life, but it can take a toll on me. But it's nothing that time cannot help heal, put it that way. So that's why I sound kind of um, out of it, stuffy, lacking energy. I did what I had to do. It was something that made me sad the moment it was happening, so I shed my couple of tears, which I hadn't cried over personal issues in, I want to say, a month now. Whereas I've shared with you guys that I'm that kind of person who used to cry themselves to sleep. And the last time that I had cried prior to tonight had to be a situation I had with my mom, but I was explaining what went down with my boyfriend. It was nothing bad between my mother and I. It's just that she is struggling with something that I used to struggle with that I no longer struggle with, and she was seeking my advice. And I said, well, I would love to give you some advice, but unfortunately, your perception of this differs from mine because to to make this a little less vague, she was asking me a spiritual question, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm the best person because I have my way of manifesting when it comes to that, and it may not reflect yours or go hand in hand with yours. So I don't want to misinform you. But I said, in my opinion, how I would go about it is da 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 da. So, since it was a relatively sensitive topic, um, while I was telling the story to my boyfriend, I kind of started crying a bit because I'm like, it's easy for me to say this now because I'm over it, but unfortunately, my mom needs my guidance in a situation like this. And she looks specifically for me because I'm the only person she can trust with this matter, and I'm the only person who understands this matter too. So it's great, and I feel honored that she's coming to me for advice and whatnot. But at the same time, I feel horrible because I'm not sure if I'm leading her in the correct path. Like, my path, what works for me, doesn't necessarily mean will work for her. So that's what I'm worried about. But as the two mature individuals that we are, I shared with her my point of view, and I said, I believe that you are pretty wise and mature in this stage in your life to determine whether or not what I'm telling you suits you. So I just don't want to lie to you. I don't want to present my point as this is what's right, but just know that if you do not take my advice, I'm not offended. So, anyways, so in a sense, her situation is someone is not being as nice as they can be to her, like especially with words. It's a conflict that she's finding herself having to deal with. So I just told her, remember that you can always kill people with kindness, and do not let anything steal your peace, because you have worked too hard to be suffering like that, you know? So I was trying to give her a tip on how she can possibly stand up for herself. So back to the title of this video, how I just couldn't stand up for myself. Like I said, I just couldn't do it because it's not my personality. For me, I always thought of standing up for myself as you gotta be conflictive, you'll need to be rude to someone. And then I thought about, wait a minute, if you're making a point, the truth doesn't have to scream, the truth doesn't have to yell, it doesn't have to insult, it doesn't have to offend, it has to convince. So if during an argument you find yourself verbally abusing someone, you are the problem. So I said to myself, why do I struggle with this? If I have the weapons by me, which is the truth and everything to the best of my knowledge, why am I afraid to say something? It doesn't matter who it is. It shouldn't matter who it is. I should just do it because it's right. And it's not nice to be mistreated and abuse stuff. So it took me over 20 years to come to this realization, but at least I did. And like I was discussing with someone, it doesn't matter when you're in school and you're studying or something, it doesn't matter how slowly a child learns. What matters is that they get it. So for me, my personal growth has been stunted in some ways, but at least, even though my progress is pretty slow, at least I'm getting it. And I'm glad that I can put it out there and acknowledge it. And, you know, this serves as my evidence of how much I've improved. So let me see what you gotta say. I agree about convincing. This reminds me of the situation with the mother of my child. I have to convince with my own words with custody. Yeah, the battle may be difficult and it will drain you. And, you know, the war itself is always a rough thing. But just remember that in order to communicate effectively, you don't need to scream or yell. You just gotta be convincing. If you're getting agitated, it's because you feel like you're losing control of the situation if you don't do that. And that's just wrong. It's a sign of weakness. And if you hear some creaking or whatever, it's because I'm downstairs and mom is upstairs and she's moving a lot. And then it's cold, so everything creaks around here. But anyway, so yeah, you guys, I think I have vented everything that I meant to for this topic. To sum it all up, because I know that I went all over the place. I couldn't stand up for myself because I used to think that it would make me a bad person. Because I felt like standing up for yourself meant you had to be aggressive and mean and all that. But then I learned that there are wise ways to fight, and that's what I apply and will continue to apply. And then I didn't defend myself in the past because honestly, to some extent, I didn't even recognize that I was being kind of abused of, you know? It hurts to say it because a lot of my conflicts took place with people who are close to me and I love and whatever. So I used to think there is no way that a person who loves me and I love them, there's no way that they can hurt me. But unfortunately, it is possible. And I think that's why situations escalate, because you don't recognize that this person is in the wrong and they are taking advantage of that. Maybe they don't mean to be that way, but unfortunately they are, and you have to put a stop to it. You have to make them aware that what they're doing is hurting you and it's not good, you know? So, so like I said, I'm just glad that I'm in a different mindset. I'm in a different stage in my life when it comes to uh, me handling those situations, and I just feel better. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to claim that I'm perfect, but I'm just putting it out there, putting my word out there, because maybe this will help someone, or maybe someone can relate. And just know that you're not by yourself, and you don't have to be by yourself handling this if you don't want to. So, yeah, and let me catch up with what you're saying. I let her walk all over me for 2 years so I can build my information. I have a few weeks left, and I have over 10 inches of info. Glad you did vent. That's great. Yeah, I know that feeling now of being walked all over. I never even identified it as such. Because, like I said, I didn't recognize that I was being taken advantage of or being abused of. It's something that you don't want to admit because you don't want to believe that someone close to you is perpetrating this, you know? So, anyways, you guys, I don't want to stay here very long because I'm afraid that I will compromise the little bit of sleep that I can get now. So, I appreciate you guys for showing up to the stream and hearing me out and sharing your experiences. I'll be back soon enough. And don't forget about my upcoming stream on Sunday in the evening at 5. Um, it's going to be a good one, I promise, because it's a pretty relevant topic. And I find that when I discuss topics of that nature, you guys enjoy it, but I don't want to quite spoil what it's going to be. I can relate. I used to have a very hard time standing up while I was in school, especially since I'm shy. Oh, yes, my dear. God, do I have a lot of shy stories. I know I've gone over my shyness in many, many videos, but yeah, don't let shyness take the best of you. That's the best thing that I can offer you now. My teenage years were wasted because I never made the first move. I never asked anyone for anything to like hang out or practice something. And of course, for my bullies, I would try to just retreat and walk away and escape, and they would chase me and whatever. And instead of, maybe, you know, halting them or just just obstructing their progress, like, you can bark at me, but I can actually roar, like demonstrating that I can dominate the situation. I just never did. So I associated my adolescence with I'll always be pushed around because I'm different. I'm not into what everybody else is into. For instance, people's way of having fun would be, say, going out illegally, going into nightclubs, meaning you're only 16 years old and you're sneaking in and you're drinking and stuff like that. That was people's definition of fun because you're being naughty. You're breaking the rules, so that makes you cool or whatever. Well, I was never that kid. I would have never contemplated that or considered that. And then the craziest thing for me was the way people would boast about it. Like, yeah, I did it. And, I made it and this and that. And I'm like, well, if it's really that satisfying for you, then good for you. But for me, I don't see anything positive coming out of that. So why risk myself? So that, I guess shyness is good because it tends to keep you safe. What I mean by that is don't expose yourself to too many people. Not a lot of people know your business. And because not a lot of people know your business, that means you're less likely to become a victim of just something like people talking about you too much and you giving them the means to your destruction. There's nothing that I hate more in life than a nosy person. When it comes to socializing, because there is only so much that you should feel compelled to ask. But there's people out there who really want your biography, autobiography for some reason. And I'm like, just effing why? Stop being all over my business. I know some people mean no harm by asking, they just genuinely want to get to know you, but the problem is that sometimes it's not very obvious to tell apart which person is genuine and honest and which person wants to know about you to see how they can benefit from you, you know? So, honestly, as much of a curse as my shyness represented for me during my adolescence, I think that if I made it unscathed, it's because of that. Yeah, there were times in which I was wishing that I could have someone to do something with on the weekends because I was really lonely and just bored. All I had was video games and the internet. That's not really fulfilling, but eventually I grew up, and now if I don't want to be by myself, I know whom to contact, or I can just get on here and film, and you guys will eventually get to it, and you may drop a comment or something. I don't feel as abandoned anymore. If I would have started this channel years ago, I feel like I would have been in such a better shape, but unfortunately, this was just not for me. Like, I never thought that I would ever do this. So, I guess additionally, it's good that I started this much later because my mentality helps me be absolutely safe and responsible with it. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I have learned people get better at hiding things when they get older. I consider myself an introvert, so I spend most of my time alone, but I do have a couple of good friends. I'm the same way. There's people who have like this kilometric list of friends, and I'm like, how can you do that? For me, I think it's more valuable to know, say, a handful of people, but these people actually care. Like, they remember stuff about you. Whereas if you know, say, 100 people, but only one person knows, I don't know, your favorite meal, then another person knows that you don't like to travel. Well, in my case, that I don't like to travel. And, incomplete stories. I can't do that. To have, I like to feel fulfilled. So if I pick somebody to sit down and have a conversation with, is because they're either benefiting or because this is going to last. I don't like for stuff to just be empty and get lost with time. Like, do you ever have that one person who you are really close with, but for some reason you become distant? I hate that because I feel like my time has been wasted. And maybe it's not. Maybe not everyone is meant to stick around, but that's why I'm just really careful and picky about who I associate myself with, because it just it feels like a new beginning, and it's just frustrating to have to start over and have to fill someone in when you know like I don't know how to put it into words. It's like you're filling in this person with details, and then suddenly it's like they drop out of your life and you meet someone new and they want to get to know you, but then you're frustrated because you already shared the story of your life, and here you go again having to start over, and then you have to breeze them through your story and then catch up with current events because life is not going to stop until you fill this person into your present. So, it's yeah, it just sucks for me. I just do not like repeating myself too much, even if it's to a new person. I don't like to be divulging the story of my life too much. So that's why sometimes when you guys ask me something, say in a comment or whatever, I'm always like, I already made a video about it. Here you go. Here's the link. Just watch it. Because seriously, something about repeating myself just, it's probably because I just like to move forward, and I feel like repeating myself constantly doesn't help me at that. So anyways. All right, guys. I really mean it this time. I'ma go hit the hay, and I will see you soon. Bye.